Hi everyone, welcome back to the fourth episode of Backs to Riches. Today's episode is extra special to me because it's with someone who has been a mentor and a huge support in my own career journey. When I was struggling in my early corporate life, Aditya was the person I could count on. His advice, his perspective, and honestly, his belief in me made a huge difference. In this conversation, Aditya opens up about all the failures that he had to go through and that shaped him, and how those moments actually helped him grow into the associate director that he is today. We talk about the tough visa struggles that could have broken him, but didn't, and how he made the big leap from PhD and postdoc research into the US industry while doing a few key things correct. If you have ever felt like the odds were stacked against you or that a setback meant the end of your story, this episode will remind you it's just another chapter. So let's jump in. Here is my conversation with Aditya. Right, Aditya sir, namaste. How are you?
Namaste. Good. How about you?
I am doing awesome. Thanks for asking. How have you been doing?
So far, so good. Surviving the turmoil of the cell and gene therapy industry. I guess that's a part and parcel going forward. So it is what it is.
It is what it is, right? And yeah, it has been turmoil because I know we both are in the similar
Yeah.
industry
Yeah.
and we both are experiencing the same things. But I think it's one day at a time, right? That's all we can do.
Absolutely. That's the only thing that's in our control.
Yeah. And you appreciate you taking out time for this and sharing your insights with all the students that might get help and benefit from this. So
Always
thank you for
happy to
joining
help.
in. Awesome. So, just I'm gonna ask you real quick on what are the key topics that you love talking about and passionate about that actually the international students must know before coming.
I always feel like talking about your journey itself, and that not necessarily gonna be the my way highway or it's gonna be the gold standard, but at the same time, sharing your journey sometimes helps. That's one
Hmm.
part. What are the key things in your life that can help you? Unfortunately, the way we are trained back in India is slightly different. So how to use a setback, how to use a new learning here in this new country would also be useful for someone who is aspiring to be here, and then eventually flourishing in this system. I won't say I've flourished yet, but at the same time I'm on the journey.
You're
So
being
then it
modest.
it I'd probably say like I'm few years ahead of you guys. Let's put it this way. So
Right.
sharing my wisdom and sharing my failures would be probably much more useful for anyone who is aspiring to be on the similar path. So that's
Right.
probably the thing I would like to share.
Yeah, and that's an interesting take on your journey so far because majority of the people that I have spoken with, they talk about their wins and what they did right, but no one talks about what they did wrong, what were the failures that they had to experience throughout their journey. So I think this is gonna help a lot of people. And I think that's the perfect segue to start on what triggered you and what was like the major setback that you had, maybe before coming to the US or after coming to the US that switched uh, things inside of you and switch that mindset? Is there a journey or an experience?
So there were two setbacks. I would say like let's go one by one. The first setback I would say like while I was working in India doing my master's project, I kind of realized the amount of work that you need to do to just get few things out from a research perspective. At the same time, in India, there is of course we have faced is a lot more politics at the ground level, grassroots level. So sometimes having a talent is not enough. Sometimes just to be at wrong place at wrong time can also deteriorate your career or hamper your career. So that was the second thing that I learned it in India. And third thing is like appetite of your boss in India, because sometimes your bosses might be at their fag end of churning. Like that basically happened with me, where my boss was about to retire, so he had no appetite to publish things up, and then the politics and
Hmm.
all those things. So that was a big setback for me. But I feel like that basically was a big motivating factor for me to find a place where I can actually do my research and focus
Hmm.
on research rather than anything else. And of course, the obvious choice was United States. But the other thing I would say, like the driving factor for me to be here is also curiosity. and just that appetite to learn more, know more, and my curiosity. So those are the first thing. So from the setback perspective, that's one part. The second setback, I would always say that that kind of shape up my life is right after the first year of my PhD. So in the United States, it's some of you are already aware, and some of you, if you are not aware, for them is basically once you finish your first year or second year, you will probably go through a PhD qualifiers. And what happens is like you will take qualifiers for different subjects. Like I was in a PhD in immunology and microbiology, so you have microbiology, immunology, and virology. And then, believe it or not, I failed my first attempt of virology, and not because I didn't know anything, but I was overconfident because I breezed past microbiology, which I heard was the toughest. I breezed past immunology, which I heard the toughest, and I was just like, okay, that's it, ho gaya. And I become overconfident. And when you become overconfident and you fail, that's a big setback. So that is something against your thinking, right? When you feel like in India, we always like, ha, like ye aa jayega, ye ho jayega, and you always
Yeah.
get it through. But then that was
Mm.
the first time I did not get it through. But then that was a big setback for me also because before that I never faced this situation. But
Mhm.
then what it taught me is that for when I was preparing for the reattempt or retake, I was actually working with someone who was a part of Phil's virology chapter. So he basically sat with me and he was just like, "I'm shocked that you failed, but at the same time, let's work together." And what happened? And then he basically helped me understand a lot of different concepts of virology. So we work on a different aspects of virology. And then at the end of third month, I kind of realized, you know what? The failure was actually good because without that, I would not have paid attention to so many aspects of virology or nitty
Yep.
gritties or intricate details of the virology. And
Mm.
that is something I thought like, okay, that was a good opportunity for me to learn something that I would not have learned. So again,
Mhm.
that's probably going to be my theme going forward during this podcast also is like, you think that failure is bad for you, but sometimes it's a good opportunity to have an introspection, but at the same time learn something new about yourself and in general
Mhm.
the process itself. So I would say those are the two setbacks that really shape up my life and my thinking about in general how I approach everything. From that point onward, you just go on because you just realize that was just a part of your journey and it's not going to
Right.
stop your journey.
Yeah, I believe, and I mean, when you talk about overconfidence, it is a bit of egotistic. I would
Yep.
say it's very egoistic because you feel like you know everything.
Yep.
And once you say that to yourself, that's when you stop learning about those things.
Exactly.
If you say I am the best at something, then you feel like no one else is better than you, and you will never go back and learn the new things coming up, which might help you eventually in the future. And that's actually perfect because I've been in the same boat, and life has a very cool way of grounding
Yep.
you. Over a point in time, there would be a time where life would hit you so hard that you will be like, "Oh, I thought मुझे तो सब आता था
Yeah.
यार," and just like all of a sudden snap, and you're going down.
And the thing is like, and one thing that incident also taught me is basically things can change within 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Like before
Easily.
entering into that room for my Viva type of pre-qualifier, I was super confident. Like, okay, I I cleared the most toughest two Vivas for or qualifiers. It should be easy now because I knew everything inside out. And nope,
Hmm.
I just blanked up on a second or third question, and then I just went downhill from that point onward. And you rightly said that life has a different way of teaching you and grounding you eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And once you're questioned and you're not able to answer, which you thought that you are the best at, your confidence takes a hit,
Yep. Yep.
and
And
at
and
some point it's actually good.
and what it also tells me about in general about how you manage yourself in a situation. And
Hmm.
what that incident told me is I could not manage myself in that situation properly. In
Hmm.
probably a 10 years down the line, if the same thing happens with me right now, I'm just like, okay, that was just one question, it's totally fine, let's move to the second one or let's move to the third one. But
Right.
then because it hurts your ego and that was the first time that your ego got hurt, how you
Yeah.
react when your ego or your things are challenged is something that's a journey that I've been on since then. And I feel like now I feel like I'm a bit mature to understand and learn and handle that situation.
Right. So I know that you told me about a couple of instances, one back in India when your professor was retiring,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And they didn't have enough motivation to come up and, work on different research
Yep.
projects. And cutting to when you flopped your YY exams,
Mm-hmm.
there is a feeling of helplessness where like all the time in your life you want to feel like you are in control,
Yeah.
right? But you're actually not.
Yep.
There are a lot of other factors that are variables in your life which are changing the things that has been happening around you. So when those things happen, when you feel helpless, what is your mindset to get through that?
Huh, it's a good question. When you feel helpless, what do you do? I try to see. So, if you asked me the same question 10 years back, I would have had probably different answer. But now, my perspective right now is more or less like try to figure it out what part of helplessness is in my hand right now. And I know
Hmm.
it's sometimes it's very when you get overwhelmed when things go against you you always think like okay nothing is in my hand I'm so helpless but if you just sit down and think about it carefully and you can start passing out things and then you realize wait this is a thing I can actually control or this is a thing I can actually work on and that's how you need to focus
Yeah, it's
and
like,
then that's where the whole problem is like I cannot answer this question okay that's fine this is just one question out of 10 question you can move on and tackle the next one but no I felt like oh I cannot answer I feel helpless there
hmm,
and that's where I stopped thinking so I
hmm,
feel like a wiser version of me would say like I try to break it down
hmm.
what is in your control and is it actually going to matter in a bigger picture because sometimes we in that moment or in that process in that month in that day you feel like that's the big thing in your life
Hmm.
but then if you step back and then it's like is it really going like one publication yes it would have mattered for me to get a phd admission into in a great school blah 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 but in a longer or bigger scheme of the life probably it doesn't matter it might have hampered my progress by 1 or 2 years that's fine and there will be certain things which will have some effect on your journey but there are certain things which may not have any effect on like failure in that virology did it actually affected me in any way in terms of my career or in terms of my duration of phd probably not but I
Yeah,
got stressed up so
yes,
looking back I was feeling helpless that time, but was that helplessness really the helplessness that I need to worry about? So sometimes you
right.
just have to step back and just think about is it really going to matter? And help, maybe in an early stage, it might help to just talk with someone who's
Hmm.
been through that journey. And that sometimes
Yeah.
helps. That used to be my pathway back then. Now is more like self talk.
Yeah, and you beautifully said it all, and I live by those two schemes that you actually just said right now. Is I am an anxious person. I've always been like that, right? And I try to manage it as much as I can. But one of the best things that I have learned so far is to write everything that is stressing you out. Anxiety probably comes always from your future. Like whenever you're thinking about your future, you're gonna get anxious. Oh, this is not happening. This is not happening. Oh, I'm 27. I still don't have the house. I do not have a settled life. I do not have a wife or a kid, and the time is running out. And we are always thinking about the future, right? All the time, and that probably what triggers your anxiety. What I have learned, the best thing that I have learned is to write everything down that's bothering you and just keep striking the things that are not in your control.
Yeah,
And you would be
yeah,
surprised that there would be only one or two things that you can
absolutely,
actually do
absolutely,
and start working
absolutely.
on that.
Yep.
So that was one beautiful thing that you touched on, and I have personally done that. So thanks for that.
Because that definitely helps. I honestly feel like when and the other thing I always like to do when you are in that situation, so let's say if you are feeling helpless in that particular situation, just try to manage yourself from that situation, but the next day maybe just sit back and just think about it because probably you're not in a mindset or in a zone to really think about that situation in general
Yes.
and you're not going to
And
come up with solution in that situation.
exactly. And for me, when I'm in a reactive mindset, I cannot think clearly.
Yeah, and it's a spiral. It's a
It's a
negative
spiral from
spiral.
there. It's
Yep.
like you're just gonna go down from there.
Yep.
And what really helped me is this one person I heard talking, and they were like, "Okay, that sounds like I acknowledge whatever you're feeling, but take these experiences and zoom out 5 years from
Yep.
now.
Yep. Yep.
Just zoom out of that and see what actually is gonna matter. Like, is this
I'm glad you said that because someone basically told me this beautiful statement is just like think about is what this situation is trying to tell me and how it's making me wiser, and that
exactly?
helps all the time.
Yeah.
So it's why me is not a question. It's all about okay, what it's trying to teach me, or what am I getting it out of this situation, and how it's making me a wise person for 5 years down the
Mm.
line.
Yeah, it's more about being in the mindset of, oh God, why me?
Yeah, yeah.
Versus thank God it's me.
And
Uh,
you don't even have to say thank God it's me. It's just like you don't have to say why it's me. That's it. I
exactly,
would
yeah.
rather prefer saying oh why it's me, not saying why it's me, and not saying also thank God it's me. I would just like okay, it is what it is.
Right.
Let's do this. And that's why I said about the industry also. It is what it is. That's our
Yeah.
new reality. Move on. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
talking about visas, industries, and everything. It's going on. It's gonna go on.
Yeah. And it's nothing that you can change.
Nothing in your control.
You can talk all day about oh my visa status. You
Yep.
can talk all day about oh my promotion, but it is gonna come if you're gonna work towards it or
Talking will make you feel better, but it's probably not going to achieve anything or no results. But
exactly.
talking in a constructive way might actually yield a result. Okay, what else I can do to achieve this?
Yeah.
And that's something I feel like again we're probably going with the self-talk part, which is so important.
Self-talk is really important, but you need to know enough to be able to do that self-talk first about the world and second about yourself.
Also, you know enough about yourself and world through failures again.
Yes, and through failures, I want to. That's the perfect segue because I do want to go towards that
Yeah,
part of this podcast where you want to share about a, throughout your journey. You have shared with me that you have had a lot of failures at
yeah.
different standpoints. So if you want to shed some light on it and
Absolutely,
what are the
absolutely,
learnings you have?
absolutely. And I've already shared two failures of mine.
Yeah.
One of the other, and I'll probably go in a chronological order. And I just through this podcast, I probably wanted to convey to all the people who's going to be your audience is just like it's fine, and someone like me and anyone like any person will go through a lot of failures. I might be the extreme, as we say in the scientific language. I might be the negative control, but it is what it is, and I'm happy to be that person. But yeah, going through my PhD, I always felt like I'd never got enough exposure to other things in terms of development throughout my PhD, and that is something I kind of started realizing late. Like my boss was very protective about not allowing me to present in conference. He was a little insecure. Probably he always felt like someone will scooped out because we are in a competitive space, all those type
Hmm.
of things, which basically kind of divided me from opportunity to network.
Okay.
But at the same time, and that's where again the feeling of helplessness was like, okay, I can't do anything about it. I can't go to conference. How do I do anything about it?
Hmm.
But at the same time, there are small local events, especially if you are in a particular state, there is a state conference and everything that you can always go. That's one failure, but then again, there is a way to kind of address that failure as well. I'm probably going to give you failures as well as sometime I'll try to put together some solutions as well. And nowadays, I feel like some of these type of failures which I probably faced 15 years back, 13 years back are not a failure because connectivity has improved. You can reach out to any professor on LinkedIn, Twitter, or for that matter, some of them are really tech savvy. You might able to see them on different forums or podcasts. So I feel like that is not a problem nowadays. But that was my first failure, or third failure, I should say. Like it's like I'm not able to network with anyone. I'm not able to expose myself to different science, different type of things, how people
Hmm.
present themselves in a bigger conference. I never had a bigger exposure. I was literally talking with someone an hour back, and I was telling this is the first time in my life I've been to three conferences in one year. First time in
Oh,
my life. being a
Oh.
PhD student and postdoc, and being
Hmm.
in preclinical discovery industry. So it's a failure in a way when I compare myself to a lot of my colleagues and peers. But
Mm.
that's one part. But what was the ramification of that part is finding a good postdoc, because no one knew about me. No one, my boss was not extremely famous. We were publishing in good research journals and everything, but at the same time, we were not a big enough lab that everyone would know about me or my boss. So what it made difficult for me to get a good postdoc. And then for that, I literally have to reach every person that I really love their research, kind of persist with it. And that was kind of failure in a way where I had good publications and everything, and I could see that some of my colleagues, some of my friends with potentially a lesser profile in terms of publication were able to get into Harvard or big schools. And then I was just like, wait, I'm not even getting a single call or not even
Mm.
getting a response, or some people will respond and they're like, oh, we had someone from this and so we can't. And I had one interview with a big professor from NIH, and she was just like, why did you go to this university? No one knows about this university.
Mm.
I've had that also. So frankly speaking, what it was little, what do you say, sad to face this situation, but at the same time it was very demoralizing, where you start doubting yourself at the same time. But and I also like to say, like, when you are at your lowest, you also sometime you come up with a very creative solution. Then you start thinking about who are the high profile professor from, let's say, not in a Ivy League but in a public Ivies. And
Mm.
then you start, what do you say, pivoting your strategies, and that's
Right.
how you can make your next step. That was my first failure, and how I navigated that. Then once I got into my postdoc, the series of failure, which in a bigger scheme is are not failure, but the I would say the second failure right away around the postdoc was, like any Indian student, we always say like, हाँ PhD के बाद I'm just gonna go to industry, or your masters के बाद I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go to industry. So if you do a masters and if you have to go to a PhD, or if you do a PhD and you have to do a postdoc, in your mind and based on what your seniors have told, or people around you have told, it's a failure because you were not able to find a job, right? If you have to extend your master's thesis because you can't find a job, it's a failure for them, or failure in our mind also, because that's how we've been taught. So initially there was a feeling of, is like, you know what, yeah, I wanted to go to industry and I could not get into industry, and I tried for that matter, but at the same time I could not get into industry. I got a postdoc eventually, and I was just like, yeah, I have to do a postdoc now. And somewhere in my subconscious mind, I was like, maybe I failed. But in a bigger scheme now, and I know I'm probably going to digress from this topic, but the postdoc will teach you, or the PhD for a master student will teach you so many of the important skills that you're going
Hmm.
to be using down the line. I use it down the line, like the skill of grant writing. I know you don't write a grant in industry, but
Mm.
grant writing teaches you how to sell your research. And when you go to industry, you have to sell your work.
Yep.
And that is something you will learn from a grant writing, where you need to capture an audience within 15 seconds in that first page of grant. That means you have to make sure that technically that's your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
So
The 30
speak
seconds.
30 seconds. You just have one page there, so it might be more than 30 seconds. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it helps you kind of sell your research. Why should I care about you? So again, going back, what I thought as a failure, that was my first or third failure in my postdoc, it's no longer a failure 10 years, 15 years down the line. So that's one part. At the same time, my postdoc research was going great and everything, and then my boss could not get funding, and
Mm.
all my grants got rejected. Like, he has a good profile, blah blah blah, grant is amazing, but his boss is not funded, does not have enough fund to support him for next 3 years, so they rejected the grant.
Mm.
Again, helplessness, failure, all the things that we spoke about so far, it's probably part of the same thing. Having said that, I'm just like, okay, it is what it is now, and that kind of motivated me or forced me to eventually find a lab, or a place where we don't have to worry about money. And then I had a candid conversation with my boss, and I'm just like, yep, your money is running out. And she was like, no, I can support you. I'm just like, I totally agree with you, but at the same time, I also wanted to make sure that I get good publications, or at least I I also wanted to use that as an opportunity to basically um, get into a field which is much more industry relevant. So that's another aspect. So I kind
That's
of tied it together, and again, that failure basically motivated me to do something else or something better, and that's how I got into University of Pennsylvania, where I started working in AAV gene therapy, and that was my first exposure to cell therapy and gene therapy. So technically that so-called failure I had back in University of Virginia is kind of motivated me to do something different or something else, which
okay.
brought me to UPenn, where I was trying to look for a postdoc, but I got this random LinkedIn message from one of the recruiter at gene therapy program. Hey, we are trying to hire people. You look to be a good fit for this. Are you interested? Went to the interview rounds, blah blah blah, and then there I go. I was at UPenn, and I was just like, that's it. This is my biggest stage. UPenn gene therapy program is one of the best.
Hmm.
All those things, and then you go there, and then you realize this is just a cookie cutter center. Unfortunately, I have to say that. Where yes, I learned so many things, but then after 6 months, 8 months, you just start realizing the fact that okay, I'm doing the exact same thing every 3 months in terms of the way I'm designing experiments, way I'm executing experiments, all those type of things, which is fine for your education at the same time. But if you're more of an independent thinker, at some point you start feeling bored about it. So in my mind, I was just like, yeah, I got into this best place. This is my dream position, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I'm not enjoying. Again, it's a failure,
Mm.
and that motivated me to start looking for some projects, or some, what do you say, out of comfort zone projects, or at the same time
Hmm.
start putting together some creative ideas and start pitching those ideas within that
Yeah.
gene therapy program. I was not successful enough to convince them to pursue those ideas, but at least that gave me a platform that pushed me. That failure, or that
Mm.
feeling of failure, let's put it this way, feeling of failure
Yeah.
helped me basically just try to do things which I would not have done otherwise. And
Mm.
that's, again, it's every time every failure helped me pushed me do something which probably I would not have done.
Yeah.
Eventually, I was just like following this company for a long time, since my postdoc, and I was just like, I saw this position posted on Indeed, and I just reached out to the CSO of that company, and that was my first industry job.
Hmm.
And then, but that journey itself, before that, it was an amazing, and when I say amazing, in a sarcastic way. So I can say that while I was jumping from UVA to Penn, and Penn to also, I can tell you I had a failure where I interviewed 4 rounds, 5 rounds, and the position got on hold or stalled, and they there was a hiring freeze. Okay, and I started wondering, what did I do wrong? I had presentation, I got good feedback, blah blah blah. They ghosted me, and this was in 2016, 2017. So again, the economy was not as bad as it is right now. So those things happened back then also. That was one part. Second thing is, I was scheduled for an interview, for in-person interview. I went through 2 or 3 rounds scheduled for an interview. My flight got cancelled because of the weather. I could not reach to the interview, and there was someone interview right after me on the next day, and they end up hiring that person. So again, out of my hand, I was well prepared. Everything we spoke over phone on that. I'm just like, yeah, my flight got cancelled. What do I do? And they were like, okay, we will try to get you next week, or next to next week. We'll try to find it. And this candidate came in, probably
Mm.
did better, and they hired him. So that's the second failure. Third failure I had, that probably a lot of you might face it eventually once you get into the system, is H1B. So I went through all the round. I
Okay.
got an offer. I was about to sign that offer, and then I was just like, "Yep, I need an. You guys know I need a H1B, and that H1B needs to be done in next 3 months." And I was like, and the employer was like, and it's a startup company back then. So they're like, oh, okay, you need an. We thought we have 6 months. I was just like, nope. I've been telling you it's 3 months. We need to file something. Back then, I was not aware of O1Bs or anything, but at the same time, they're like, oh, 3 months would be too tight for us, and they retracted that offer. So I had that failure as well. Before I jumped
Oh
in, this
wow.
was before literally I jumped into Penn.
And this is when you were saying it's in 2016 when you
2016,
were looking at the
2017. Yep.
jobs.
Yep.
2016,
I
2017.
literally still have that offer with me. I've saved that PDF with me. It's like I had an offer and they were like, I'm sorry, but we will have to retract that offer because we cannot do that right now. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it is what it is.
I think you should print it out and put it on your wall now.
No, no, I have that. I'm telling you, I have that. So
Yeah.
that's another failure. Apart from that, like I've always say that I've failed literally. So this is failure after offer, right? So then I went to Penn. I did my extended postdoc or whatever you wanted to say. Did that, and then I was trying to
Hmm.
jump into. And back then I was aware of O1 visas, so I started filing
Yeah.
for O1 visa. So I interviewed with. I was like, probably I'm not gonna get it because they once tell them that I need a sponsorship, they're probably not
Mm.
gonna hire me. But to my
Yeah.
surprise, they were gracious enough, kind enough. They were like, okay, no, we will do whatever it needs to take you. And then I proposed the O1 option because back then this is probably somewhere around 2019. I was also in process of green card, so I was getting ready everything. And then we filed for O1 visa, and then I got a RFE, and we wasted 6 months, 6 months from time of RFE before my things got submitted again. And
Yeah.
during that 6 months, I was just like, pakka, now they're gonna retract this offer because I had that experience, right? Luckily, they were gracious enough, they were kind enough, they did not retract any offer, they actually supported me. So what we started back in probably March or May, I end up joining in December. I
Oh
don't think so.
wow.
There are very few employers who actually will wait for you for 6 months or 7 months. And I was lucky
Yeah.
enough, I was able to find someone. But my point being is, I had a failure from first round, second round in person. Then you cannot go
Yeah.
to the interview. Had offer got retracted. I had offer accepted, filed for visa. Then visa got delayed. So it's like failure after failure, failure after failure.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got into industry, and then industry all again it teaches you totally different level of failures. So I
Yep.
would say like whoever is aspiring to be in this journey, maybe in postdoc or in academic track or any track, you're probably
Yeah.
gonna face some sort of those type of failure that I have faced, not necessarily the amount of failure that I face. You might be smart enough to probably segue from all these failures also, but shit can happen and it's totally fine, and you can get it through as long as you just put your head down, work on the solution. So don't focus on the problem, focus on the solution, and you will get it through. And that's why I was just like, I was telling failure what worked for me, failure what
Yeah.
worked for me.
So that's insane to me because people might be hearing you and they're like, "Oh, okay, this happened, then he went through this, and then he jumped to these things, but he always had a job in the back end and all of that." But people don't realize every time an experience like that happens, it
Yep.
actually breaks you down.
Yep, it is.
Especially in a tough market, if you're just getting two or three interviews, you have to make them count. Like there is no other option that you would have.
Yep.
No other opportunities is just gonna show up. But like every step that you said, all the way from PhD to postdoc, all these transitions, when you speak it out loud like that, it might seem okay. He failed, then he persevered, but the perseverance of going from one failure to next failure to
Yep.
next failure, that inspires me. It's like,
And that's something I always try to tell everyone is just like I had this conversation with someone, and one of my like, "Arey, tera to sab set hai." And I just looked at him, and he's like, "Arey, you have now transitioned. You're all set. You don't have to worry about it." And I just like,
yeah,
do you
no,
really know how many times I've interviewed? Do you really know how many times at what level I have failed myself in general? And I'm glad you brought this point up. I should add one more. When I was switching my job to my second job, which was Castle Creek, they filed for O1. I also got a RFE for that O1 as well. so so so
yeah,
it's just
it
like
just never stops.
it
Sir,
never stops.
एक
Yep.
किताब हो जाए इस
Yep.
पे.
And that's what
I think you should write a book on this.
I
'Cause,
I I always that's a big reason that whenever we spoke also I always try to tell
yeah,
you the same thing. It's just like failures. I feel like I'm so used to it, but at the same time I started using it as my strength rather than weakness. And it's like what it's trying to teach me, how it's making me wiser, and what else I
mm,
can do differently. Because sometimes what happens is like it is easy when they retract that offer, and then you'll have your friends telling you, "Hey, don't worry about it. It's just a visa thing. Don't worry about it." But then what I started thinking about myself is like, how can I elevate my profile to a level where they no longer can say no to me? They will be like, we have to hire this guy. So
Hmm.
whoever hearing this podcast, I would probably like to tell them, put yourself probably one or two notch above everyone else. That will compel or force anyone to hire you who is probably into the journey of industry, or even for a postdoc also. Like you will
Hmm.
probably, or PhD program, you're probably going to have the same competition, and you
Yeah.
will always try to wonder like, yeah, they don't want to sponsor, they are making all these rules for immigrants and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You have to create a compelling profile for that step, otherwise it's not going to work.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that, because one of the things is also, so now I consider you to be a very successful industry professional. I know you would say otherwise because
Yeah.
you have very high expectations out of yourself, but you have done well, right, in your life in general, considering all the things that you have been through and things like that. And what kind of also triggers me when you have made it in life, people would be there to congratulate you, but there would be like two or three people who would tell you throughout the process or the journey that you have got this. And it's very weird because once you get there, you have like a stable life and everything. People are, yaar, tera to set hai,
Yeah.
right? That's what
Yeah.
he said. Tera to set hai. But where were you jab all of these things were happening,
Yeah.
and I was going through shit, and just it was just me and two or three people that I can
Yep.
rely on,
Yep.
and that kind of also makes you realize like what, like how to prioritize people in your life.
I feel like having like-minded people around you, it sounds very cliched, but having a like-minded people who are as driven as you sometimes
Yep,
helps. But
for
I will
sure.
also say that there was a period where I was not having someone like that around me, and in
Hmm.
that case, you just have to draw inspiration from somewhere else. And I feel like as much as LinkedIn is right now getting to a point where people are just marketing themselves, but sometimes it's still a good thing for you to get inspired. Nowadays we have
Yeah,
an option of Shark Tank or something like that, and you just see like how people go through their
yeah,
whole grunt of success, and sometimes you just have to take those things in your stride. And so I always say this one thing: if you can find a company or like-minded people, you
hmm,
should. But if you
yeah,
can't, there are enough resources, virtual resources, that you can actually work around and inspire yourself. Read if you want, if you like reading, of course there are great books that you can read about it. So sometimes
yeah,
I literally, or hear podcasts. That is something has helped me a lot in general as well, is this just learning about someone else's journey, and just try to understand what exactly they have gone through.
yeah,
And you would be shocked at how much people suffer to achieve what they have achieved. So
yeah.
company matters, but if you don't have a company, create a company through virtual resources.
Create your own community.
Yep.
And as people have said, you are the average of the four people that you hang out with the
Yep.
most.
Yep.
And the type of content you consume, the type of things that you watch, is what you become.
Yep. Yep. And sometimes
So,
I always feel like most unexpected source would be the best source.
what do you mean?
Is we try to find inspiration, or we try to find, let's say, those high value circle around us,
Hmm.
but sometimes it's not around you, it would be the most unexpected source. And I remember probably few months back we had this talk, right? and
Yeah,
and, and I was trying to tell you like, I know exactly what you feel. I don't think so you expected that from me, that I will say
yeah,
that. And I could
yeah,
I could sense that, like, no, I know what you feel. Because when you were telling me, it's just like, this is exactly what I feel. And
yeah,
probably you were unexpected source for me, and I was unexpected source for you. Did you expect that you were doing an information intro and you will find something like this, and then you're just like, wait, I have the exact same feeling. When you do an information interview, you probably wanted to get more information, but to have that relatable information, that's why I always say, you sometime your best source would be the most unexpected source.
for
That
sure.
so you have to be open around in general. Like you might find your high value friend probably not in your friend circle, not your company, not your college, not your
Yeah.
university, maybe two block down the street, or maybe it might
Yeah.
be your friend's friend that you met somewhere over a chai or something, and you never know.
Yeah. It's just weird how the world works
Yep.
actually. They like, and with this globalization, they might be in another country,
Absolutely,
at different time
absolutely,
zones. Who knows,
absolutely. Yeah,
right?
I totally
And
agree
when
with
you're
that.
growing, Aditya, especially, I know you would realize this and understand where I'm coming from. When you're growing, it's a very lonely path you walk.
Yeah.
Because one thing is you want to let go of the people that you were with because they don't allow you to grow more.
I would say they don't
Suppose.
align with your vision. Let's put it this way.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
They don't align with your mission, but and like the amount of value you can get out of them, it's not there anymore. Because you want to be there, and to get there, you need to be with those people. I'm not talking about the personal community
no,
that we
I
have,
see what you're
but
saying. I'm trying to rephrase that, and I probably like to rephrase that. I would say that sometime your growth will outgrow your circle.
exactly. And you will outgrow that. And
Yeah,
like these are the people I want to be with, but you are not actually good enough to be with those people right now. And you're working towards it. And
yeah.
that's why I say like that when you grow out of your comfort zone, you're trying to learn something new and get somewhere, that path of
It's
going
always
from one place
evolving.
to another,
Yep.
it's a very uncomfortable path that you have to take.
And that's another thing that I always feel like it's you have to be comfortable to be uncomfortable.
Exactly.
um,
Yeah.
um, and 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 you rightly said so, but is like you no longer relate to some folks. I won't say all the folks, and that is probably your journey. And I still have a lot of my school friends that I can relate to on a different level, but at the
Right.
same time, there might be certain things that I cannot relate to, and then I have bunch of other friends who I feel like I feel out of place nowadays when I talk to them. So that is definitely a journey, and that's why it's also so important to have a co-evolution between friendship,
Yes. It is very
cause
important.
yeah, otherwise it's just gonna you're gonna grow apart eventually.
Exactly. And that's why like one of the things that I've experienced after coming to the US is if I am working towards something and I have so many friends, but I have spent 24 years of my life in India.
Right.
All of my friends are in India, right? And when I talk to them, some of the times it feels so connected, like nothing has changed.
Yeah.
But the other times when I actually start talking about some things, like maybe international things or something that I want to go towards, my life, I just don't feel the connect. There's a slight disconnect in what they are doing in their life because they are used to the Indian lifestyle that they have been. They're maybe they're in a job or they're starting their own company or whatever it is. But when I try to talk to them about, this is what I'm gonna do and I'm gonna do it, there is that misalignment of maybe different personalities. And I feel that's where some of the disconnect happens.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that those people are bad for you now, not saying that, but I just feel that disconnect. Do you also feel like that sometimes?
I, I, I see what you're saying, but I probably 10 years down the line, I would say differently. 10 years back, I would have said it differently. At this point of time, what I feel is, that disconnect is because of the circumstances. And what I started noticing is that once you come to any Western countries, for that matter, it would be US or any Western countries where you have a good work-life balance and all those things, you probably have enough time to think about yourself, what you like, what you want to do, all those type of things.
Absolutely.
What I truly feel, which I see that with a lot of my friends, unfortunately in India, that the lifestyle is so hectic, and there's so much of effort that you need to put in for basic things. You even just a commute in India is crazy. You
Yeah.
hardly get time for yourself to sit down and just think about yourself, what you want to do, how you want to
Yeah.
do it. So I feel like the part of misalignment stems from the fact that we are in a totally different system.
Hmm.
And sometime I
Agreed.
wonder, and I really wanted to give the benefit of doubt, where sometime I wonder if those people put into this system, or if I go back to the old system or Indian system, will I still have the same perspective? Will I still have the same hunger, same urge, all this type? So I feel like it's very subjective and circumstantial rather than anything. That's how I started seeing it. Um,
Right.
but you're also absolutely right. Where with some of my friends, I do feel the fact that no, I feel like my thinking is totally different, and
Yeah.
part of it is because your vision gets broadened,
Yeah.
or you get exposed to so many different things. You start looking at things in a different perspective as an immigrant or in a different new country, and I feel like that helps.
Hmm.
And sometimes that's where the what do you say, the friction happens, where it's just like you are seeing your own country and you're seeing people around you in a very different
Hmm.
perspective, and that perspective is not aligned.
Right.
So in their view, they are aligned because their perspective is not changed, or they're not exposed to
Right.
different things.
Yeah.
It's almost like
Maybe.
we always say that, right? चिकन खाया ही नहीं तो तुझे कैसे पता कि वो अच्छा या बुरा
अच्छा
है?
है हो रहा है जीवन भर पनीर ही खाया है तो
Yeah, so
चिकन
for
का
them,
स्वाद
paneer is
कैसे
good.
होगा
That's fine. Totally fine.
That is fine, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I respect the perspective and things
Yeah.
like that, but when you actually, need that support in your life, where it's
No.
like,
Yeah.
man,
I
I'm
see what
gonna,
you're
I'm
saying.
gonna make that change, I need you to understand where I'm coming from. But of course, they haven't seen what I am seeing. So me expecting that is unfair to the other person too.
Yep.
So
And
I
that will
agree, I
that
agree.
will happen to you when you are here and are at different stages also. And that you will probably realize when any one of you will be doing any information interview as well. Like for
Hmm.
you, it's just like, "Are industry mein jana, this is what I want to do," and then someone will say like, "No, don't worry about this. Do this," because it's a totally different perspective. So both the people are feeling in a different way. It's just like he's like, "Are his two junior probably is not going to understand." The
Hmm.
junior person is basically, he's not understanding my perspective. This is what I want to do, this is what I want to
Yeah,
do. But it's I always say it's so phase appropriate. I'm probably
yeah,
going to say a very manufacturing and biotech term. It's very phase appropriate, right? It's just like
yeah.
and the misalignment is because of phase, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's what like when you go to that leadership level and you manage people at different levels of the
Yeah.
hierarchy, you kind of realize how different personalities are. What are the like other person is gonna come to you is like, oh man, you know what? This is what I've been thinking, but this person took it the other way. How am I gonna do it?
Yeah.
And things like that. And just it allows you to understand, oh, this person is thinking like this, and this is what they're motivated for.
Yeah.
If I give him this or if I give her that, that's how I'll balance it.
Yep.
And I want to know because now you're at a leadership position, right?
Again,
And
I would say I'm in a mid management rather than leadership. So let's put it this way.
a potential leader, let's say
let's
this,
okay. Let's
right?
okay. Yeah.
But you manage people, right?
Yeah, I have managed, and it's more cross-functional work now.
Yes. So when you are trying to go from uh, postdoc. You've done years of research. I was looking through your LinkedIn 5, 6 years back, all the sciencey, CRISPR, gene
Yeah,
therapy stuffs that you have posted, to now going into the industry and growing as an industrial person, right? And a corporate junkie, if I might say. But how do you transition first so quickly and second so efficiently? Because I see your growth is very natural, and I haven't seen that for a person who has been in postdoc and PhD to who goes to the industry. I think they have a little setback because usually when you're doing research work, you have autonomy. You do things alone and you design your projects. And but cut to industry, it's like a team. Everyone is doing it together, and you just want to have that mindset change.
yeah.
So how did you manage that?
I feel like there are two, three things that probably contributed to or helped me last 6 or 8 years. I feel like my first technically my first industry job was a startup which spun out of Penn. So the environment overall that we had was, yes, we had money and everything, but at the same time it was still kind of bridging the academics and biotech. It was not like a hardcore biotech. So that kind of helped me. My job or my work at Penn was also although on paper it looks very University of Pennsylvania maybe is like a very hardcore postdoc type of work, but it was more or less like I always do. I say that that work that I did was more or less like working in a biotech company or CRO for that matter. Um,
Yep.
it's almost like you know what you're doing, but it's all very industry driven because there was a lot of industry collaboration, industry
Mm-hmm.
projects. I had actually the opportunity to work on nanoparticles, so that was in 2018. Having said that, that kind of helps you understand the nuances of what is needed, how it's done for industry from a preclinical discovery perspective, pure
Mm-hmm.
discovery perspective. But I feel like what has helped me a lot is probably one of the conversation that I had with a CSO of, and then he basically told me this one sentence that I feel like it's still engraved in my mind. It's like make sure that how you can do it efficiently, what is the best and the quickest experiment that would be the best use of your time, company's money, that will give you a result that I or someone else can talk about.
Mm.
And I feel like that has been my I would say eye-opening moment
Right.
where I was just like, okay, yep. And I feel like what happens with most of us who are probably have spent more time in academia or who are more research oriented, we tend to like dig deep into every aspect
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily everything needs to be done. So when once you go into industry, it's basically kind of a fine balance of what is the must have things and what is good to have things.
Good to have
And
things.
the
Right.
faster and sooner you learn those things,
Mm.
the faster you will progress or the efficient you would be. Forget about the progress could be different, but the
Mm.
efficient you would be. Once you become efficient, then eventually that's going to help you out. So I feel
Mm.
like probably in my first few years, definitely I was surrounded by extremely smart people
Mm-hmm.
who knew what they are doing and how to be efficient, how to be smart about it. And
Mm-hmm.
being around the smart people itself has helped me. So for my first part of transition, like my pen job also taught me how to work cross functionally, because it although it was academia or a like position, but it was more or less working with histology lab, working with animal. So it's a lot
Mm.
of man management, how you handle people in general as well, how to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one aspect. The second aspect is what it taught me, especially the pen and my first job, is basically in industry or in a very high profile space. You're not gonna get 3 chances, 4 chances, 5 chances, which is generally happen in a hardcore when you're a PhD or a postdoc, or for that matter master thesis, master student. So it's like, अरे और एक बार करके देखता हूँ, it might work.
Yeah.
Nope, you get only 1 or 2 chances, so make sure that you design something which is foolproof. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna for sure. So spend more time on planning rather than just executing haphazardly. So that's something I feel like that is something I learned it back in Penn and
Mm.
back in my first job, and that kind of helped me. And again, this came from people around me, just observing them. So be a good observer. I feel like just observing smart people around you, how they function, how they operate, how they think, how they make calls,
Mm-hmm.
that is the best thing you can do. And that was probably more formative for me, what I
Mm.
am today, because a lot of my current thinking is shaped by, is it necessary? Do I need to do
Mm-hmm.
this? If I do this,
Yeah.
is it actually going to answer this question? Is it the best
Right.
use of my money, my time, my efforts, and what it's going to tell me? Is it going to be a part of my regulatory document, or is it going to be part of something that I'm going to submit? If it is not, do I really need to do it? These type of question I've been asking constantly right now also. But then probably 8 years back, 10 years back, I was not. But
Gotcha.
then people around me basically taught me this is how you should be thinking in. So that's
Yeah.
that's that's the most important thing that helped me.
Hmm.
And result, your output trumps. You have to deliver
Right.
consistently. um, make your decisions based on data rather than I feel, you feel, he feel. This is how we did it in previous company. This is how we should do it. Nope. What is the requirement? What is the data telling you? What is the regulatory thing telling you? Focus on that, and sometimes that helps, cause
Right.
everyone will is expert. Probably they're gonna have their own baggages, and if it is data driven, that helps. And ability to pivot, I cannot stress how many
Mm-hmm.
times I have seen people who are so stubborn and they are not ready to pivot. And if you have a flexible or plasticity in your thinking and your direction, I feel that
Mm-hmm.
helps a lot. So for me, the thing I said about how to be more efficient in terms of your time, company's money. That's the one
Mm-hmm.
part, and being flexible. To if I have to say two take home message from this last 10 minutes, these are the two things I would say that help me personally to grow in general.
Okay. So Aditya, when you talk, personally I am a mixture of people, who molded me, who inspired me. So I pick up some things from some people and pick up other things from other people. Who are you molded by? What are the things that you learned, and who inspires you the most right now, and who made Aditya who he is right now?
I feel like it's a amalgamation of a lot of people that you meet in
Of
general. I'll be
course.
very honest.
Yeah.
I cannot pinpoint one or two folks, but I can definitely pinpoint some significant folks who has shaped up my thinking. And as I
Mm-hmm.
always say that probably the virology professor who helped me, that's probably the first person in last 10-15 years that kind of shaped the way I think about research in general.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would say that my postdoc mentors, especially one of my mentor basically told me how to present, how to prepare slides, how to write grants, but that basically helped me how to sell my research. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one part. My other postdoc, I was co-mentored by two PIs, and she basically helped me to kind of follow the curiosity, at the same time how you can make your curiosity to be a productive output. So that is something that I learned from her. So I would say like that's second. And the third thing I always say that my first job CSO, I feel like he's the smartest person I've ever seen. And just observing him is I've learned so many things. I feel like if I have to pinpoint the most or the biggest formative year of what has made me who I am right now, I would say that my first year in my first true industry job, where I was surrounded by the smartest people that I've ever worked with in my life so far, and just observing them. So I would say like those are the three or four I would say figures that has helped me to be who I am.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of my thinking is very much influenced by those folks in general. And if I have to say a very cliched thinking, I feel like the biggest impact, there are two science nerd type of impact I would have to say like I don't know if you have seen movie Beautiful Mind.
I have. I
Yeah,
love
so
that
it's
movie.
one of my favorite movie, and I feel like it has probably had like a deeper impact on me. Probably that's if I have to say like a really cliche thing, yes, that has a bigger impact on me in general.
Yeah, and that movie kind of tells you in order to be the best, you have to be different. Like if you're gonna be the same person and anyone in the crowd and just like doing the same thing what society is doing, and you're just doing nothing different, you might not be able to stand out. And that person and that movie kind of, that was my take away message,
And
at least from
persistence.
that movie.
And the most important thing I feel like which I learned it recently is like that that movie basically tells you that not all problems needs to be solved. Few problems could be managed. So the way he managed his schizophrenia, something amazing. And it very recently I kind of realized, yes, not all problems needs to be solved. Few things could be managed. And what he was doing in that movie was he was actually initially he was trying to solve the problem, but then he started managing the problem, and that's where he was successful. So yep, that is also one of the movie that had deeper impact on me and probably made who I am.
Oh, Pursuit of Happiness, sir. I don't want to tell it on record, but I literally cried watching that movie.
Yep.
And it reminded me of my dad, actually, when
Yeah,
I watched
I
that
I
movie.
I really like that sentence was like, if you have a dream, you have to protect it. Let no one else tell you that you can't do it. It's just crazy.
The whoever is watching, an international student that might be coming in, or a corporate professional who is trying to uh, do good in their career in the States. Uske liye, what is one message that should be taken away from this conversation, or maybe it's your philosophy?
I would say like don't be afraid of failures as probably the theme. First thing. Second thing is be ready to pivot your thinking, pivot your strategies. That's the second thing. And third thing, approach like reach out to people. I feel like we would be shocked to see how many people are actually ready to help you. So feel free to reach out.
Hmm.
You know that I know that we all been through that phase, and we were like, oh wait, this guy is actually helping me. So I feel like those are the three takeaway I would say for anyone who is listening this podcast. Please don't feel bad, don't feel shy to not reach out to anyone. Just do a random, but just follow it up, that's it. Don't just take the information and that's about it.
Hmm.
So those would be my take home messages. Like don't be afraid of failure. Pivot, and reach out to more people, get more information, and inform yourself.
All right, Aditya. I think we'll call it a day, but I know there is so much more to unfold, and potentially there
Absolutely.
would be a part two where we'll talk about
It was a
more
great
about your
conversation. I
career.
enjoyed. Yeah.
I absolutely loved it, sir. And it's always a pleasure. I
Pleasure.
believe me, there are very few people that I talk to, and that actually makes me feel like they get me. And you're definitely one of those.
I'm
So
happy to be there.
thanks for being a good listener, by the way.
No worries.
I appreciate
I mean,
that.
that's another thing you eventually learn with maturity.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, with that, I'm gonna close this out. And thanks again for joining
No
this. And
problem.
I hope a lot of people get learnings from this.
Thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Always a pleasure.
All right. See ya.
See you.